Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Dirt Bike Channel. I'm your host, Kyle Brotherson, and today we need to give an update on the long-term review of this 2019 KTM 300 XC-W TPI. Stick around. So here we are. We've got a lot of hours on this bike. I committed that I would take it to at least 100 hours, but then I had a bunch of people saying, oh, 100 hours is not a long-term test, so you gotta do more than that. The bike has 123 hours on it as of today. And these are the hardest hours I've ever put into any bike. I have tried to break this bike. I have tried to abuse this bike. I've asked other people to go do things with it. The only maintenance things that I've done as far as like air filters and gear oil changes, just per the manual. I mean, we've had to replace some things. Like, honestly, it's funny what has lasted and what hasn't. These handguards have lasted 123 hours. They just keep going. I'm on like my third or fourth set of grips because we keep digging those up. I put bar ends on them. I've had to change levers a few times. This is not the stock rear fender. This is not the stock front fender. This is not the stock number plate. This side panel over here is not the stock side panel. But it is the stock gear shifter. It's the stock levers, the stock foot peg, even though that foot peg is kind of beat up. I've had a couple different wheel sets on this bike because I switch tires all the time. So anyway, but it's funny because there are so many things on the bike that are just taking a licking and keep on ticking. This is the second pipe that I've had on the bike, and this is obviously not the stock silencer. This is an aftermarket silencer, the FMF Turbine Core 2.0, my favorite silencer for these bikes. This was a pipe that I had on a 250 XC or something like that, but the radiators are stock. It is unbelievable to me with the amount this bike has tumbled down cliffs. It has done front flips, it has done back flips, it has been gross ridden, it has been ridden hard and put away wet. It has gone through everything. Right now, the reason why it looks so good is because I've just cleaned it, hand washed it, and then I've got studio lights on the sucker, so it looks really good, but it has gone through war. This one has a GET ECU on it. The thing, it did leave me stranded that one time at 5 miles of hell because I couldn't diagnose a blown fuse, and it hasn't blown the fuse since. It's got about 50 hours-ish on it since that fuse, and nothing has happened. It is the coldest, it's the hardest to start bike I've ever had as far as just cold starting. It doesn't start well. Just the other day, I did the idle screw mod to this bike, and I haven't ridden it since I did that. But it's just as hard to start right now here in my shop. After the bike gets warmed up, it's not hard to start at all. It's just its first start of the day. Sometimes it takes cranking and cranking and cranking and cranking. But when it does run, after you get it running, it starts really easy the rest of the day. And this thing screams. It's got so much power. It's almost startling. Like, I don't think it's lost any power in the 123 hours. So here's my question to you guys. Like, this bike, as much as I like it, I don't like it nearly as much after I've ridden the 2020 KTM XC-Ws. This is a bike that I would probably skip if I were you. If you're looking for an XC-W, based off what I know from this bike, the motor is still super solid, but it's just, the TPI system didn't run as good in 19 as it does in 20. The maps are better, even the suspension, the frame and everything on the 2020 XC-Ws are better than this one. And so this is my hard enduro bike, but my question is, how long do I keep running it? Because if I take this thing to 200 hours, then people are like, oh, well, 200 hours isn't a long enough test for you. You need to keep doing it longer and longer and longer. So my question is down in the comments, can I move on with this thing? Can I just say, hey, enough is enough? I've got 123 hours on it. I'll probably still ride it for the next couple of months. The big question is, do I give this bike away with my next sweepstakes? See that bike over there, that Beta over there? That bike is gonna be in my next sweepstakes. This Yamaha YZ250FX will likely be in my next sweepstakes, so I'll be giving away 2 bikes sometime in the June time frame. The question is, do I give this bike away in June? I kind of would like to and just move on and do other things and clear the room out in the shop, but it's not gonna have, it'll have 130 hours on it, around that, I don't know, because I've given it to some other people. It's just so hard to put hours on these bikes when I have 4 bikes right now. The one bike that I have is out of the shot. So it's really hard to put hours on these things, and it's kind of discouraging to be like, hey, I'm gonna do a long-term test and see if that oil pump fails and see if the bike blows up, because it doesn't seem to matter how many hours I push out on the thing, there will be still that contingent of people out there saying that proves nothing. Because, so here's the deal. With these oil pumps on these TPI bikes, if that oil pump fails, you're gonna blow up the motor, and that's gonna suck. And I think probably some people have had that happen in the first 10 hours. This bike has 123 and it screams. And I mean, this thing could go to 500 hours. I don't know. But I don't want to put it to 500 hours. And the other thing I don't want to do ever again is commit to like this long-term mega, 100, 200 hour test. It's one thing to put 100 hours on a bike. It's another thing to put 100 hours on the bike when you've had to put split time on like 7 of them. That's the problem that I've had. It's just so hard for me to put hours on one bike of that many. So I've given it to Sam before. I've given it to Jarrett before. And it's just kind of where it is. And now the bike is super tight at this point. I've got things cleaned up and I've done a lot of maintenance on this bike in the last few days, and this thing is ready to go again. And I'm going to continue to ride it a little bit as a hard enduro bike. But leave down in the comments if you think I should give this bike away here with my upcoming sweepstakes with say 130, 140 hours, or if I should like give it to someone else to let them to try to get it up to 200 hours. Is that really that important to you guys? Anyway, leave that down in the comments. I've probably been rolling in a bunch of shots of the bike, but this bike, I have a pretty soft spot in my heart for it because it has taken me to hell and back, literally, and it's left me stranded in hell. But we've taken it everywhere from Idaho to Utah to Arizona, and it only let me down the one time with that stupid fuse. The other times it has just taken a licking and keep on ticking, rolling down hills, rolling off cliffs, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's amazing how durable some of this stuff is. Obviously, you have some wear parts that you have to replace, but the hell that this bike has gone through is just pretty staggering. So leave it down in the comments if I should give this bike away now and basically just be like, look, we're up to 130 hours. The bike didn't fail. If that's good enough for you guys, or if you want me to keep going to 200 hours. I'm not saying I'm going to commit to anything. I've already fulfilled my commitment to what I said I was going to do, which was 100 hours, but just kind of wanted to see what the consensus is down in the comment section. Okay, that's what I got for you today, guys. I know that people were waiting for an update on this bike, the long-term test. And until next time, let's leave a single track. Thanks.